Hello everyone! Today we're going to learn about passive voice. Some people think it makes sentences harder to understand, but it is actually very useful, especially when you write. Let's explore why using passive voice can make our writing clearer and more interesting. You can also check the material for free on the description below or at www.theangleacademy.com. So, what is passive voice? First, let's talk about what passive voice is. Usually, in a sentence, someone or something does an action, like the chef cooked a meal. That's active voice. But if we say, a meal was cooked by the chef, that's passive voice. Here, the meal gets more attention than the chef. Now, let's go for the usage of passive voice. Why do we use passive voice in writing more than in talking? When you write, sometimes it's more important to focus on what happened or what was made, rather than who did it. This can make your writing seem more formal or professional. It's great for scientific reports, news articles, or school essays, where the action is more important than the person doing it. Passive voice also helps mix up your sentence styles, so your writing isn't repetitive. This is really important, no repetitive writings. It keeps readers interested because your sentences vary in structure. Throughout this lesson, we will show you how to use passive voice to make your writing better. By the end of our lesson, you will understand how passive voice can be a key part of your writing toolbox. Let's get going and learn something new together. Understanding active and passive voice. Active voice is when the subject of the sentence performs the action. For example, in active we have the cat, subject, chased, verb, the mouse, object. Now, passive voice is when the focus is on the action or the object of the action, not who or what is performing the action. The subject of the sentence receives the action. That's why we use the past participle. Maybe you can remember past participle because in the school, if you're Spanish, you had to memorize a list of verbs and it was like the third row. So let's turn this phrase into passive. The mouse, subject, was chased, verb, by the cat, agent. You see, we have just swapped the object and the subject and added the past participle. It is important to know that passive voice is something repetitive and structural, so the easiest way to understand it is to divide passive voice on tenses. Every tense will have exactly the same structure whether you use passive or active voice. First, simple present tense. Active, the gardener, subject, waters, verb, the plants, object. Let's swap it together. Passive will be the plants, object, are watered, past participle, by the gardener, subject. Here, if you see, we just added the verb to be in the tense we are doing the change and the past participle of the verb. We use is or are followed by the past participle for passive sentences in the simple present tense. This is really important to notice. You're going to get the pattern on the go. Simple past tense. The teacher explained the lesson. The teacher, subject, explained, verb, the lesson, object. Passive will be the lesson, object, was explained, verb to be, of the tense of the active voice plus the past participle by the teacher, subject. We use was or were followed by the passive participle to form the passive voice in simple past tense. You see? Now, let's go along with simple future tense. What happens with simple future tense? We have the active. The author will write a book. So, what is the verb to be of the future tense? Correct, will be. A book will be written by the author. A book, object, will be, verb to be, written, past participle, by the author, subject. We use will be followed by the past participle to create the passive voice in simple future tense. Oh, that's amazing! Good job! These are the simple tenses on the normal tenses, to say so, because we also have perfect tenses. But let's continue with the continuous tenses. Here, you're going to notice a little change. Present continuous. The artist is painting a mural. Passive voice, a mural, is being painted by the artist. We use is being or are being followed by the past participle for forming passive voice in present continuous tense, because we use being since the action is in progress. Now, with the past continuous tense, it happens exactly the same. The chef was preparing the meal. The chef subject was preparing the verb, and in continuous shape, the meal, the object. And now the passive will be the meal was being continuous shape of verb to be prepared past participle by the chef. You see? Let's continue. Future continuous, think active. The singer, subject, will be performing verb at the concert. What is the passive voice of this one? The future continuous is not commonly used in passive because it emphasizes the duration and ongoing nature of the action, which does not typically shift focus from the doer to the action. Now, let's go for the present perfect. Active voice. The researchers have discovered a new species. The researchers, subject, have discovered verb, a new species, object. Similar to the simple tenses, we have to add the verb to be. But the verb to be for have or has will be been in this case. A new species has been discovered by the researchers. A new species, third person object, has been, verb to be, discovered, past participle by the researchers. Use has been or have been followed by the past participle to form the passive voice in present perfect tense. Finally, with the past perfect tense, happened exactly the same. The chef had prepared the meal before the guests arrived. The meal had been prepared by the chef before the guests arrived. The meal, object, had been, verb to be, prepared, verb, by the chef before the guests arrived. Perfect? Let's continue. In the case, we have situations such as prepositions or places or time. We just put this sentence in the spot that it was originally. If it was at the end, we leave it at the end. And if it was at the beginning, we leave it at the beginning. For example, before the guests arrived, we're talking about time, so we'll leave it at the end. Future perfect tense. Students will have completed the assignment by tomorrow. Perfect. The passive of this one will be the assignment will have been completed by the students by tomorrow. As you see, we only use will have been for the verb to be and completed for the past participle. This tense is not commonly used. We don't commonly use future in passive voice, and the future perfect is less common. And now let's go for the present perfect continuous. For example, Sarah has been painting the house. Okay, it's exactly the same. The house has been being painted by Zara. As you see, we only have to add the being when we have an ing sentence or a continuous sentence. And that's mostly it. Now, it's your turn. If you want to check out some exercises, you can find it in the description below. You can download our PDFs and check the answers at the end of the PDFs. Obviously, we want you to do it by yourself on the first try, and let's see how it goes. Thank you very much. I hope we see you soon. If you need one-to-one online English classes for Spanish speakers, you can always think on the Angle Academy. Thank you very much. I hope I see you soon. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on the buttons below so we can create more beautiful content like this.